Good evening, Central Indiana. Welcome to Porch Time live from JTH Construction Studio. For tonight, we have a big crowd. Members of MeCAP. It took me a while to figure that one out. MeCAP are in studio. And look who's watching. Just as this look.
Who?
Look at the bottom.
Oh, hi, Saul.
Saul's on there.
Hi, Dr. Lou.
All right. Real quick. Let me go over our sponsors, because without them, I would not be able to do this.
Hi, Teresa.
American Basement Solutions, Mr. Larry Ralph Sr., 1-877-409-2837. Wellsprings, Bob Goodrum, 765-346-6661. And my cards are not in order, and I'm not happy. Fathom Real Estate. Beth, did you do that? Teresa Messmer, 765-341-8911. Hometown Nutrition, 765-315-0738. Logan's Cosmos, 765-318-3388. Contact Andrew Payton at the Yard Barber, 765-318-4108. Wayman's, there is that beautiful Beth. Look at you. Hello, Teresa. What's up, Jim? Wayman's Furniture, Appliance, Mattress. Get a hold of Mark at 765-342-4339. Contact Tommy Walls at Livewire Electrical Consulting, 765-792-4012. Stids Comfort System. A little chilly in here tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, but
I had the heat off.
Not too bad.
765-346-0195. And last but certainly not least, Drink the Creek, Cedar Creek, 12 concerts, 26 bands, starting
May 20th.
There you go. She's good. That's good. All right, Beth. She says, hi, MeCAP.
Who did?
Saw this.
See, I can't see it.
I know. I'm sorry.
No?
All right. I'm going to turn it over to Beth, and she's going to introduce all the members, and we'll go from there.
So, hi. My name is Bethany Latham. And you can see on screen, yes, is Wade Cat.
Look at that hair.
Hello.
Hair, yes. And then below Wade there, we have Ken Belt and Stephanie Kessler.
Hi. Hello.
So, we are community members in Morgan County, and that consists of researchers from Purdue.
Back up just a skosh. I want to make sure they can hear.
There?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Better.
Researchers
Sorry.
from Purdue, and now also researchers from the University of Illinois in Chicago. We've also, and also IU, and we've also done some projects in the past that we worked with doctors from the University of Indianapolis, right? Anybody else? Yeah. So anyway, we just received this grant to continue doing the research here in Martinsville that needs to be done. There's some important work, and we've been going around the city and giving this presentation to different groups, and we're always looking for more. So if the business you work for or a group you're involved in, a nonprofit, your church, whatever, we would love to come and give a 20-minute presentation to whomever we can to start getting more of this information out and educate the community as to what we're trying to do. So anyway, Evan?
I don't have anything to add right now.
Well, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself before we get into the presentation?
Sure.
Okay.
My name is Ken Belt. I'm my day job is I'm the high school band director, and recently a permanent new member of Martinsville. But I've been at the high school for a while and been involved with what preceded MeCAP, and excited to be a part of the grant that was recently awarded and where we go from here.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Wessler, and you've probably seen me here before if you've been watching about the formerly known as the Purdue Martinsville PCE study, now known as MeCAP, which we'll explain a little bit more detail here in a little bit. And I am a teacher here in Martinsville and a community member, born and raised. And I'm super passionate about all of this work, but I'm glad that you're on here tonight and that you're watching. I am going to go ahead and mention a little contest that our organization is having. They're having, if you know a high schooler who is creative at all, digital art, written art, any kind of art, painting, drawing, we're having a logo contest. And you can message here at Porch Time, and we'll be sure to get you all of the details of that. But our organization is looking for a new logo from a high school student here at Martinsville High School. There is a cash prize of $150, and then there are going to be 2 other cash prizes awarded also. So
Does it have to be a student?
it does have to be a Martinsville
What
High
about
School student.
What about a former student?
I wish. No, we're trying to get the high schoolers more involved and trying to get our community more involved. And this is just one way that we thought it was good. We'll use the logo for our flyers on our website, on our upcoming website, I should say. And we'll use it in lots of different ways. So if you know of any Martinsville High School student that might be interested in that, you can message either Beth, you can message myself, Ken Belt. If you know Wade, we'll get you the information somehow, what all the details are. And it's actually due this Friday, so you kind of have to hurry up. But anyway, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks, Steph. My name is Wade Catt. I've been volunteering and involved with the research here in Martinsville with Purdue since 2019, when this all first got started. I'm originally from Monrovia. I'm currently about to become a medical student this year, so excited for that. But yeah, like Bethany said, we've been going around giving this presentation to different groups around town, businesses, organizations, basically anyone who is willing to let us come and talk with them. So your audience who's been paying attention to this might hear a lot of information that they've heard before, but a lot of it's historical and a lot of it's future. So we'll get into it whenever we're ready.
I'm ready. If you guys are ready to start the presentation.
Yeah.
I think Wade's doing that, right?
Yes.
Can you bring up Wade and the picture at the same time?
I could have,
We should have practiced
but I mean, we can go like that. And this is my.
and just kind of go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And when he's ready for the.
Yeah, so thanks again for having us, Kevin. Always happy to come here and help get the word out about this project. So we are MeCAP now. That is the Martinsville Environmental Community Action Project, formerly known as the Purdue PCE study. This is about the PCE contamination going on here in town and what the current project goals are.
No, the guy on the slide needs to pick it up, doesn't he? It takes
You can go ahead.
Yeah.
So just some general background information for folks who aren't aware. There are 4 what are called plumes of a compound called PCE, or tetrachloroethylene, also called perchloroethylene, that are in Martinsville. And perchloroethylene is a VOC, which is a volatile organic compound. And all the word volatile here means is that it turns into a gas really easily. So if you see the 4 areas on the map there, if you think about those as like underground clouds of this chemical that are sitting out there close to the groundwater, it's just like a cloud constantly like moving around little by little, and that's affected by the underground aquifer and normal movement of the water down there, as well as the movement of water that's caused by wells. And whenever a well pulls water out of the ground, this stuff kind of moves around following it. So it moves around over time. That map was based on monitoring well information in 2019. We're in the process of creating a new map, but it probably looks more or less similar to what you see right there, although it's changed a little bit.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
I noticed the plume heading towards the ball field seems to have grown or branched out further, and this one down here certainly has.
Yes.
Maybe been discovered further out than what we originally thought. That's the Harmon Becker plume, correct?
Yes. There's some information about the Harmon Becker plume specifically. I know last fall, IDEM was installing new monitoring wells out there in those fields by Rogers Group. There was some concern about the plume spreading all the way to the retention ponds out there. And then if it got into those retention ponds, there'd be more concern that it would potentially even get to the White River,
Right.
which is a concern. And, you know, all things go toward the river around here. And so that's a big concern down there too, because this stuff, tetrachloroethylene, as it breaks down over time, it actually gets more toxic. So if you see the color change in that southernmost plume, where it's blue is the PCE, where it's yellow and where it's actually the darkest yellow to the west there is actually vinyl chloride. And vinyl chloride...
That's what they're dealing with in Palestine, Ohio, right?
It is, yes, exactly. Yeah, vinyl chloride is a very toxic chemical, but it's another volatile organic compound, just like PCE. It just has fewer chlorines attached to it, basically. So yeah, but in 2002, PCE was first detected in the municipal well number 3 up there, where the mouse cursor is.
Well, they won't. I'm sorry, they won't see it.
They won't
But sorry. Okay, so where the ball diamonds are, up sort of by Bucktown.
Right by the
orange
super, where it
place.
says Superfund site, the
Right.
orange one, right?
Yeah, northernmost part of town over there. So yeah, that was discovered in 2002, and by 2005, Martinsville's city water had a carbon filtration system installed in it, which completely removes the contamination from the water. So we hear a lot going out and talking to people around town. You know, there's a lot of concern out there for water quality, and if people are getting contaminated through the water. To our best knowledge, water is not, or is no longer, I should say, an issue with PCE. It was at one point in time, but currently the bigger issue that we're most concerned about is vapor intrusion. So these sites date back to different areas. The Harmon and Becker plume down there goes back all the way to the 1960s. The 2 northernmost sites, the Superfund site and the O'Neill plume, are from the mid 80s and 90s, dry cleaning facilities that were basically just dumping PCE down into the storm drains, which was illegal dumping, but probably wouldn't have been such a big issue if the storm drain itself wasn't cracked, because it would have just gone to the waste treatment facility. But because of the cracking in the infrastructure, it actually got out into the ground and created the plumes. So that's what we're dealing with today. And we call it the EPA Superfund site because the EPA manages it. The other plumes are, there's different liabilities for each plume, but basically comes down to the insurance companies that are dealing with the companies that are responsible for the dump. And so the next slide here is a little bit of history. Next slide is what is vapor intrusion? So, like I said, it's not the water, it's what's called vapor intrusion. And like I said, these things are like clouds that exist underground. They come up through the foundation in buildings, and this gas accumulates in the air. You think, especially in the wintertime when people's windows are all shut, this stuff builds up in the air inside and people are breathing it in. The good thing about this, though, is that vapor intrusion is actually pretty easily fixed through something called a vapor intrusion mitigation system. And if you've ever seen the system that fixes radon in a house, it's almost exactly the same as that. So basically there's a pump that sits underneath the foundation of the building, and it pulls air from the topsoil in and then pumps it outward outside of the building. So it goes out of the building into the ambient air, never accumulating inside of the building. And you don't have the problem of vapor intrusion anymore. It works really well with radon, and it works really well with PCE. I think the next slide shows some history of... Yeah, thank you.
Roll up.
So, a little bit of the regulatory history of PCE. So, there's a number of acts on the federal level that have dealt with environmental issues in the past. And then as more information has come out about PCE, it's been added to these things. So the Resource Conservation Recovery Act of 1976 was amended in the early 80s to include PCE and regulate the dumping of PCE. And that turned into commonplace in the mid 80s. The Clean Water Act of 1972 was also updated in 1992 to include PCE as a contaminant that should be removed from drinking water. The Clean Air Act of 63 was updated in 2006 and once again in 2022 for PCE as a hazardous air pollutant. And then other state agencies like OSHA and the FDA also regulate PCE to some degree. And so I should say too that PCE, what's known about its health consequences, is coming from occupational health data and animal models like mice models. So in the past, it was used as a degreaser for a lot of industrial processes. So if you think about somebody like washing grease off of their arms with this stuff, that's a lot of exposure on your skin in a short period of time. What we're dealing with here in Martinsville is very low level but long-term exposure. And so it's really unknown what the long-term health effects of that are. But we know from that occupational health research that PCE is a neurotoxicant, and it's also probably a carcinogen, probably a human carcinogen. There's a lot of evidence with animal models to say that it is a carcinogen. But again, studying this stuff in humans is a little bit different. But anyways, that is just some more background information. What the current project is trying to do, what we've already done, ongoing research. So back in 2019, all this stuff in Martinsville first got started. That's whenever I got involved as well with we call the feasibility studies. And so what Purdue researchers were trying to do at the time was show how they could use this new method to assess exposure to PCE through somebody's breath. And so they went around to different homes in the affected areas, and they had a container that pulled in air from the house itself. And then we also had people exhale into bags. And we could show that the method of exhaling into a bag was a good way to understand somebody's exposure to PCE, which was the first time that that's ever been done. The pilot study that we had after that, which we call the Showalter Children's Health Study, was trying to look for those neurological effects that we know happen in those big exposures in children, because we thought that at that developmental stage, you might see some of this stuff emerge more drastically. So we are still analyzing the final results of that. We should have that here in the next couple of months, and we're really excited to let the public know what the results of the children's health study were. But for those of you who don't remember, we were looking at exhaled breath from kids and then comparing that to performance on a cognition test, basically. And then there's also another grant out there from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. The point person on that is Dr. Jennifer Johnson from Michigan State University. That's dealing with more of like the history in Martinsville of the contamination sites and people's awareness of it. We don't have much involvement in that, but currently we do have this new NIH Research to Action project, which is where we come in as MeCAP. So what are our current goals? The first goal that we have is to continue to quantify PCE exposure in adults. And we're going to be doing that through the breath testing. We're also going to be looking for any associations with exposure and cognition, just like we did in kids. A little bit different. What we're looking for is a little bit different, but basically we're doing something like that with adults this time. We're also going to be estimating cancer incidence in Martinsville, and I'll get into that a little bit more detail here in a minute. We're also going to be assessing the community's concerns And from that assessment, we're going to be designing and implementing a action project that we're calling. And I'll get into that in a little bit more detail here in a second. So first off, how do we test for the current exposure? Like I said, we have that breath test that we do, where it's called a TEDLAR bag, but it's basically just a bag that you can exhale into. And then we take that bag and we put it through this machine called a proton transfer mass spectrometer. And that's fancy word just to tell you that we can tell how much PCE is in your breath using this. And so we have a video. I'm not sure if it'll play, but it's a demonstration of what the bag collection looks like. Okay, yeah.
He has pictures, but I can talk about it because
go for it.
I actually did this. It's actually a super easy test to do. It's kind of like you have a straw and you're blowing your breath into a baggie, and then they close up the baggie and then they test that exhaled breath to see if there's any PCE contaminant.
Sort of like a breathalyzer.
I don't know about that, but how do you know about that, Kevin?
My brother's a cop.
Oh, gotcha. And anyway, but it's really easy. It doesn't take very long. And so there are going to be ways that you might possibly be able to get involved if you're listening. So just message me in the chat. Some people have already messaged me some details. Might be one way that you will be able to help in our upcoming studies. Blowing into a bag. Easy.
Super easy. Thank you, Stephanie. The next aspect of this is the community engagement aspect. And so first, let me just say, too, that in public health and environmental science, researchers in those fields are always looking for what they call natural experiments. And what that means is that, to test a lot of this stuff, you have to wait for like a natural disaster or like a pollution issue like we're dealing with here in Martinsville before people can actually have something happening that they can go out and look at, right? And so the problem with that has been in the past that researchers would come into these areas where there's a natural experiment happening, and they would ask their questions and they would figure out something and they would take it back to the university, and the community ends up never seeing any benefit from it. So to try to prevent that kind of thing from happening, this stuff has been going on here in Martinsville really from day one, has had the community's involvement from the get-go. And, the community is really co-directing this current project. All along the way, we've been looking for people's input and their their understanding of what we're doing has really helped shape how this project has developed and will develop in the future too. So currently, what we're doing for that engagement stuff is we are getting focus groups and interviews going. So tomorrow, actually, we have our first focus group going on, but we're going to be doing more here coming up. So if you're interested in participating in a focus group or being interviewed, please contact us and sign up for that. That would be a great way to help us understand community concerns and what people actually want to see happen with this.
What time is that event, and where's the location at, sir?
So that event is actually already filled up tomorrow, but in the future you would potentially be able to join. But we're going to be having it at the library, I think 5:30 to 8 tomorrow. Yeah. But like I said, we're constantly looking for more people to interview and participate in focus groups. We're also engaging with high school students in a number of different ways. Stephanie mentioned the logo competition. We are also funding a student internship this summer who's going to help us with the research. And that's, really helpful for students who are trying to build a resume. And just get the community more involved. We also are constantly looking for, public events and things to table at and talk to people at. And here's just some pictures of us in the past around the community doing testing. doing outreach, education, that kind of thing.
There's the
Yep, there's the breast testing. Yeah.
place.
And
Nice
then
one.
here's a picture of us last time on Porch Time. A lot more crowded that time.
Beth, you totally blocked me out.
I know. I didn't know it.
Who's that guy?
So the community action part of the community action project can end up looking like a bunch of different things, and it's really difficult to say right now what we're going to actually do with this, because the idea is that the community engagement part has to happen first before we know what people actually want to happen with the action project. The action project might look like developing an educational campaign. It might look like advocating for certain policy changes. You saw in the regulatory history that as recently as last year, national regulation of this chemical was changed. So this is a very dynamic issue, and it could have a lot of implications, what we do here in Martinsville. But the next slide here, we've got our theory of change model, and this looks a little complicated, but basically...
He's fine right there.
Okay, we on it?
I hit the wrong button.
You're good.
I was trying to split the screen.
Yeah, so this looks confusing at first glance, but basically what this is saying is right now we're on the left-hand side of this, where we are collecting perceptions, concerns, doing those focus groups, those interviews, and then as we move forward to the right, we get into this little loop here where we are setting up different benchmarks and then assessing what are the barriers to those benchmarks. So one benchmark could be everybody in Martinsville who needs a vapor mitigation system has one. And we know that we are not at that benchmark right now. So what are the barriers in our way that are preventing us from getting there? And then over the years, through these focus groups, through these interviews, we're in this loop and we're constantly understanding, okay, how do we overcome these barriers? How do we put together some kind of action plan to overcome these things? And then periodically we're assessing where we're at, moving forward, and hopefully by the end of the year 5, we are on the right-hand side where we've created a healthier community. So this is the idea generally behind it. And the next slide, what a lot of people are interested in here is cancer incidence. So not a whole lot of people realize this, but Morgan County, I know I didn't realize this, Morgan County has the highest cancer incidence of any county in the state of Indiana. And so what does cancer incidence mean? Incidence is a word used in public health a lot, often with another word called prevalence, but easiest way to think about it is incidence is like new cases and prevalence is what's already there.
Shockingly, it's if you look at the state map, you would assume Terre Haute, Richmond, Indianapolis, South Bend, Evansville, the major areas, would be the main focus, but that's not the case. Maybe Kokomo, I see a little bit there, up in here. It's certainly not Terre Haute, but Johnson County may be coming. I know Johnson's here, so that's a weird thing because most of your bigger industries are in the main hubs of the state,
right? And so what's important too here though is that this is all cancer. This is including every type of cancer that gets diagnosed. So how this works too is that in the state of Indiana,
so you can have lung cancer too.
Right.
See, that makes it even more shocking because your larger amount of people are in Marion County and they're on the list, but certainly not in the top 8.
Well, so there might be a lot more people in Marion County that have cancer, but incidence is all about rate.
Okay.
Right. So it's
so
the
that
number.
explains that.
Yeah, it's the number of new cancers divided by the number of people who are susceptible to it.
Okay.
So that shows us, for any area, we can have an idea of what should be there based on how many people are there, based on what kind of people and, how old they are, how they live their life, what kind of industries there are, and look at those different incidence rates and see a map like this and see that there are differences, obviously, around the state. And so in the state of Indiana, if you get cancer in the state of Indiana, your information automatically goes into this thing called the Indiana State Cancer Data Registry, which is a big database with everybody's information in it. And you can get down to the county level, like we're seeing right here. What we're going to do with this project is break it down even further to the city level. So we're actually going to look at Martinsville specifically, which has not been done. And we're going to compare Martinsville with another city that is like Martinsville demographically, but doesn't have a PCE issue going on. And we're going to look for differences in the cancers that are thought to be associated with PCE, which are things like lymphoma, leukemia, bladder, kidney, and liver cancers, things like that. And so we're also going to be able to go back in time with this stuff too and look at, was there a difference in incidence back in the late 90s and early aughts when people were getting it in their drinking water? What does that look like throughout time will tell us a lot of information. And so finally, the associations with visual and cognition function. PCE, like I said, it's what we know about it is from that occupational health research, but it's known to cause headaches, impairments in cognition, a whole host of motor and behavioral functioning problems, as well as color vision deficits. And so, again, we're looking at long-term low-level exposure. It's not known if there is any of that in that kind of situation, but we've developed a test for adults to perform that will help us understand their performance on these things. And we're going to look at that in conjunction with your breath test and try to see if there's any kind of association with somebody's exposure to PCE and their performance on this test. And finally, we just have some information about our community partners. So myself, Wade, Stephanie, and Bethany, we've been involved for a very long time. And we're part of the steering committee on this project. So we have a lot of input and do a lot of work for it. We're also building a community advisory board, or CAB. That's a group that meets quarterly. It's made up of really anybody in the community who's interested in the issue, or anybody who works in the community who's interesed in the issue.
And who will make it to a meeting.
And Kevin Coriel.
I had stuff going on.
Who missed a meeting.
Wow, I get called.
No, but really,
I'm getting better information right here today than it is.
Absolutely, yes. If you're interested in joining, we would love to have you. It's a great way to get involved and give your input. We're also going to be hiring field workers for the recruitment. When we're going out and we're recruiting people to give us breath samples, we're hiring some people to help us do the legwork and door knock and get those people recruited. So that'll be coming up. And then also just a host of other community partners that we're constantly involved with and looking for. And here are our researchers. So from Purdue, we have Dr. Sa Liu. She's the environmental scientist who has been with us from the beginning on this. From IU, we have Dr. David Carrican and Devin McKay. They are going to be doing the neurocognition and visual testing. And our folks from UIC are Mary Turek. She's the epidemiologist who's going to be helping us with the cancer data. And Eve Pinsker, she's an anthropologist and social researcher who's going to be helping us with the focus groups and interviews. So how can you help? First, schedule a time that we can come and speak to your business, church, or other organization about this project. and help us get the word out. The other way, you could volunteer for our community advisory board. Like I said, that meets quarterly, and we're constantly looking for people to join. Volunteer as a participant right now would be a great time to volunteer to join our focus groups or potentially be interviewed. For the breath testing, we're not actually taking volunteers. We have to do that randomly. But if you get something in the mail, that means you were basically chosen randomly in town. And if you do get something in the mail, or if you do have one of us show up on your door asking if you'd like to participate, please participate. It'd be a great way to get involved and help us out. And finally, talk to your neighbors about this. Probably the most important thing is, as long as the word is out there and people are talking about it, it's going to be a lot easier for us to come in and get participants and get people involved. And then hopefully something can be done. And these are just some QR codes. I guess we'll possibly be able to put the Facebook link to our group and to the sign-up sheet for the focus groups.
Is that the entire presentation?
That's the entire presentation.
I have a couple questions, if you don't mind, as I get back to all camps, because I'm a novice at this, and I don't understand. Where did all my cameras go? There we go. Going back to mitigation.
Yes.
And you said it's a lot like radon, which we don't quite understand how and why on that. They come in, disturb the soil, real estate, and they have you come in and test it, and if it's there, then they mitigate the ground. The plume, Harmon Becker's running due west, basically, on a line with Poston Road and out to the Rogers area. If you're going to mitigate each house along that way, hypothetical, isn't there things you could do is put in the ground every so often? How do we know the depth of where contaminated air is? And like,
Well, it's in varying degrees from.
but you should have
From
a
the water
base
table.
of some sort, you would assume.
Well, I mean, it's down to the water table and then up. So I don't know. Water table.
I'm
may
just
be
curious. I'm
different.
just asking. Is there something like put a 4-inch pipe every quarter mile? Would that help mitigate it out quicker?
Oh, you mean
So
to
it's-
give access to the ambient air
Yeah.
for it to come out? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
something
know
the
if that
city
would be
could do.
something.
That's what I'm looking into.
Well, I know there are different engineers out there who are developing new technologies to deal with this kind of stuff.
Right.
So Wilcox Engineering is
Yeah,
the
they
group
do.
that's remediating the O'Neill plume, and they're actually injecting a bacteria into the ground that
Eats it up.
Eats it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Well, and I heard
But-
they were closing in on getting that one wrapped up,
About a year.
Yep.
It should be clean.
Mm-hmm.
which is amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, let me explain that just a tiny bit because I was very shocked by when they said that. Literally, they engineered a bacteria that they stuck into the ground around the O'Neill plume, and the bacteria then would eat the PCE. My question was, what does the bacteria do when it's not eating the PCE? And basically, they just said it just goes to sleep. So the good news is that PCE doesn't get around the
Until the zombie
bacteria.
apocalypse. And then
Yeah, really.
we're all screwed.
Watch out for
so,
the
you know.
bacteria. No, but anyway, it's worked because they've been testing it. They put it in and they've been testing around it for over a year, and they have had 0 PCE get through.
I remember
Well,
that first meeting with them over
yeah.
at the RMC, and I spoke to that guy in depth about that situation. And then my biggest concern was, why are we wasting our time on some of these things when if Wilcox can do this and they have a proven track record? Well, they couldn't touch Superfund site because the EPA would be like, we're out if somebody else gets involved.
It's all liability stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that plume stop has been for a little over 20
Yeah,
years.
didn't they use some in Franklin? Am
They did.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
you're right. They
Yeah.
did. Yep.
If I recall.
The other thing too, though, there is even in the Superfund site area, like your house could map on to that plume map, but not necessarily have levels above what the EPA has deemed necessary to remediate. So I know they have been in town recently doing more testing, but early last year and the year before, there was some testing going on the Superfund site. They identified like 200 buildings that should be tested for levels of PCE to determine if they needed a VIM system installed. And they only got like 80 people to agree to the testing. And of those 80, it was like 20, 25 or so that actually needed it. So even those buildings that are on there, it's not like written in stone that you're going to actually need one of these things.
Right.
But it is concerning because if you think, okay, well, all those people that didn't get the testing done, and if that same percentage carries to those people, you're looking at probably 30 to 40 homes in that area that need a system and don't have it. I do know that number of like 20 to 25 has risen with this new round of testing. They've identified, I think, around 50 or so, is what San said at the last meeting, that need a VIM system. And those are paid for by the EPA, so that's nice.
See, the what gets me is this Harmon Beck one. Is it growing? Is it getting bigger, or is it just?
So as the water is pulled due to wells, or that's the reason the north like.
But they
going
said
to
it's
the
not
wells
in the
isn't.
water any longer.
It's not in the drinking water. It
After
gets
the water.
filtered.
It's in
Yeah.
the water, but then it's filtered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and water's going to run towards the river.
Yes.
Mhm.
But is the source gone?
The source is gone.
Yes.
Because when I look at this map,
supposedly
right? When I look at this map and pull up one from last year, I'm like, well, the source isn't gone.
No, that's the same map. That map's from 2019. That's our same map.
Well, the original map I saw, this was not across the bypass. This
Oh,
was-
really?
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think
It
I've
was
ever seen it.
barely.
Because that map was 18 years old, so they must have
Oh.
updated
Yeah.
it. Like when we
Okay.
first started doing this in 2019, the map that we were using, literally, I think, was about 18 years old.
Well,
It was
I don't
old.
think so. I think because the original map only had the Superfund site and the Morgan Street one, the original one, and I think these came up 19 and 20. I'll have to pull those
Well,
up.
that map's from 19.
Yeah.
But like Wade said earlier, that
But I do
it's
not-
probably even changed a little bit more
I-
than what we see there.
I
Yeah.
do not remember it being out that way into the field.
Right. I agree with that. I mean, it has definitely, that map has changed, which I'm glad, because like the original map that I saw when I started in 2019, this group, it didn't go that far, but we knew that PC is definitely further than that.
Right, and that my, like I said, I don't know enough about it, but when I look at that, I'm going, well, the source isn't gone because it's still stretching out.
Or maybe they're just finding out new.
Maybe it's
da-
settled
data.
and the residuals running out.
Right.
What that map is coming from though is just a monitoring well in one spot,
Sure.
picking a ping of
Sure.
it. So it doesn't necessarily give you whole lot of information about what that concentration is right there. Relative to 5 or 6 blocks away.
Right.
But that's just showing you where those pings are hitting,
Okay.
along the way. So it might be like thinning out,
I was curious. That was running through my mind, and I was like, wonder if it's getting bigger. Is the source already gone or what? So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Are there any questions on the chat stuff that you've seen come through that?
I have seen a couple of questions.
Yeah, Stephanie's been knocking them out from Jeremy and a couple others.
I've been trying to answer them a little bit because somebody asked if they wanted to get their basement tested, asked if we could test their basement. And I said, that's a good question. Like Wade said, it's kind of a random testing right now, where as before, the other things that we did, you could actually volunteer to be a participant, but this one is like a random study. They want to get random people to do that. People are going to get stuff in the mail. So if you see stuff in the mail, then you may be able to get some of your things tested. But as of right now, you can't just say, hey, Stephanie, can you come to my house and test my basement? Because that's not the way this study works. As in the past, you could kind of volunteer to do that kind of thing. However, there are a lot of different ways that you can get involved. It may not be getting your basement tested or your exhaled breath or whatever, but on our team, that like it's just Wade and Beth and myself and Ken. There are other people who come weekly. I don't want to name everybody because I'm certain I would leave someone out. However, what we're really getting good at finding is what your talents are. Like, for example, I just knew a student's dad was really good at graphic design, and he's helped us design certain things. Or, you know, if you're good at speaking with people, or if you're good with children or high schoolers, or even if you're just interested and you want to come learn a lot more information, there is a way, and you can be involved as little or as much as you would like. The CAB that we keep talking about, which is the Community Action Board, it's actually only 2 hours every 3 months. And that's right,
Yeah.
right?
You get free food too.
Yeah, you get free food, and you get to come give your opinions. You don't have to know anything when you get there. It's not like we're expecting you to know things in advance. It's just a way that we are trying to gather some information so that we can do more things in the study. The study is very different because it's not researchers coming in telling us what to do. Basically, it literally is based on the community. What does the community want to happen? What do we want to see? And then we're so grateful to have Dr. Liu. I've been working with her, you know, for a few years now. Not only is she super bright and smart, but she's a really nice person. And then we've gotten the opportunity to meet some other researchers coming in now. And anyway, we are starting to learn some things. This is some groundbreaking research that's being done. It's just never been done. That's why sometimes we just don't know the answers to things. But you can get us your information, Porch Time, Beth, me, Wade, Ken, whoever you know, and we would be happy to find a way for you to be involved, because we need you. It's a community-based project, so we need everybody to help out.
Should say too, though, for the testing specifically, if you live on one of the plumes, there is a way that we can get you. So it's not going to be with us. We are not going to be the ones that test your basement for you. But and that's part of what we're doing too right now, is we're building a website, and we're going to have all of this information out there, hopefully by the end of next month, where we'll have a resources page where, let's say you live on the Superfund site plume. Okay, who do you need to contact to get your house tested? If you live on the Harmon Becker plume, who do you need to contact? Because it is different, because it's managed by different groups because of the liability thing that we're talking about. But those resources are out there. It's not easy to find, so we're going to try to make it easy to find for you.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Way to say that.
I know we've already said this, but we are looking for additional groups. Like I said, churches, businesses, any grouping of people that we can give this presentation to. The more people that know about this project, the easier it will be for us to recruit the numbers that we're going to be recruiting, because this is a much, much larger study than the children's study. We are actually hoping to...
There's like 2 churches along Poston Road that I know would be good to...
So the focus groups and interviews are going to, we'll have about 40 participants in those combined. And then the AIM 2, where we're testing the exhaled breath and doing the iPad assessments and such, we're going to have like 300 participants for that.
Really?
So, yeah, so our goal is to find 150 of those people from the summer until the end of the year. And then next year we'll be searching for 100. I mean, if we can find 300 this year, that's great. But we're hoping to maybe get 150 this year and 150 next. So
it's true.
That's it.
This is a 5-year. It's a 5-year project, so it's not just a one and done thing. And then hopefully, even after that, it can continue. The action part of it can continue, because they're not just going to do research and leave our area.
Right.
Going to figure out what we can do and make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Well, I lost both my parents to cancer. Other families members with tumors. There's a reason why there's a cancer center down here and not a hospital. So somebody knew well in advance, seen the writing on the wall. And to me, this must have been going on even with 60s is what it said, that in that time frame. So hopefully what you guys are doing are going to make a difference for the future, the younger generations of this city. I worry about us, not her, middle-aged folks.
It's me.
Whatever.
Totally.
But I don't want to sound all somber because I got something important to announce now.
Oh, what is it?
From not my side of the table.
Oh,
We have another state championship or state finalist going to an event with
Yay.
Mr. Belt and Mr. Powell are involved with. Martinsville Indoor Percussion state finals at the Holman Center in Terre Haute, April 1st. And congrats to them. I think I've had, out of the last 10 shows, it's all been kid related or state finals
we
related.
have a lot of cool kids.
We
in
have
this
some
town.
great young youth in this community, and we want to keep them around a long time. So hopefully you guys will figure out. But congrats to the indoor percussion. I saw that today. Did we clarify the robotics yet, Beth? You want to
Oh no, I haven't. I don't. We got. I
see?
didn't have
And
enough
you already
time.
announced about the academic decathlon, right?
No,
They won. They're going to national. They're going to Texas.
but they go to the nationals every year. I mean,
No.
it's old hat.
They had for a long, long time.
Mr. Babbitt
It's
was.
That's no
Babbitt
longer.
and
I
Mr.
know.
Sturgeon. Then
There is no academic decathlon anymore. It's academic bowl. It's different now.
Something bowl,
The entire state there we still have an academic decathlon club,
chili bowl,
but there are no competition,
The-
which I was surprised by.
decathlon,
so-
academic decathlon.
Yeah.
I think Devin went to that.
Probably.
My Devin.
Yeah.
Your Devin probably will too, though, because he does everything.
Yes.
Piano,
Does do a lot.
4-wheeler, basketball, soccer. What did he win an award for just the other day?
Oh.
Yeah, you do.
Don't turn this about Deb. What's it called?
Anyway,
Oh.
congrats, Mr. Belt.
Well, thank you.
And
Do you,
Mr.
want
Powell.
to, do you want to talk about it at all?
And that academic team, they're headed to Texas. I guess I don't maybe necessarily understand the specific format, but that team, they're all hours of the night studying, whatever the theme is for that specific year. But as far as the drumline, James Powell, he's the middle school band director, and we team teach with each other, and terrific gentleman, and that really is his baby. And 30 kids are in that group, and they fill up that basketball floor with great music and great visual.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really. Their show is called Ring, and imagine everything about Ring. I mean, visually rings to sounds rings, and the whole show just revolves around that concept, and really is a fantastic show. So they'll be wrapping up the season on Saturday.
That's awesome. We've already had some state champions with the dance team.
That's right.
They won in hip hop, I believe.
Mhm.
And then we had the Lily and Gabby get to the state gymnastics finals where they
Yeah.
both did very well.
Yeah.
So, chess club had the state tournament,
But we had kids in it too.
and we had kids in it.
Yeah.
Just a lot of cool stuff going on.
We got a lot of great kids in that.
Yes,
all the
and so it's
buildings.
very vital that we solve this cancer situation here in this community.
Absolutely.
So, anybody got any questions, comments, concerns? Let's go down here now. That getting depressed now. Gotta go.
Aw.
Get depressed. Come help us.
Yes, exactly. That's the
Right.
message, Beth.
Have you guys? Do you have a number of? I'm stuck on that plume because that bugs me on Ohio Street. Have you done the air sampling or the breath test specifically in that plume along Ohio Street?
I
Or do you-
definitely have had participants getting exhaled breath studies from that area, because I know when Wade earlier talked about door knocking, we would door knock, like literally go to their door and knock on their door and say, "Hey, will you please breathe in this bag for us?" So I do know that they have. I can't tell the exact.
I don't know if I'd approach it like that.
It's not exactly how we said it, but
Y'all want to breathe in this bag? Around here, it might work, it might not. Just depends.
I teach first grade.
What we've had to drink.
That's what we say for little kids. And anyway, so I know that there have been some testing done all around town, different samplings, people who have lived inside the plumes, people who have lived outside of the plumes. So they've been trying to do it, but I don't know exactly all of the.
yeah.
See,
all of
that would be my
findings.
question. If you've got plumes down Ohio Street, Morgan Street, and Jackson Street running northwest, and then you're finding high levels in the breath on Nutter and St. Clair and areas that aren't in the plume.
So there's a couple of things to this too. There's no like it's a different organization than the EPA. I forget what it's actually called, but it's some toxic substance agency. I can get the name to you. It has a guideline out there for air content of PCE, but no guidelines exist for breath content.
Sure.
Right. So,
And I know you can get them in your garage or household appliances. Excuse me, that can release some of those same chemicals in your air.
Right.
I get that.
So if somebody like cleaned their kitchen or something before we did a breath test on them, they might have it in their breath.
Right.
And somebody might work in Indianapolis in a facility that has PCE in it and then bring that home and exhale it. From our initial study and in our paper that we published, we did notice that there was like we would find it in elevated levels in the plume areas specifically. We would find it in other areas.
That would be
which is what you would think would happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell them about the research.
Right. One thing I like to point out to people too is that there was one day that the researchers from West Lafayette tested their breath in West Lafayette. They didn't have PCE in it. They came down to Martinsville for a day, going house to house, doing testing on people. And then by the end of the day, working in Martinsville, they were exhaling PCE in their breath.
And that's scary because were
It
they
is.
ever in a closed structure or
They were.
out on the street?
Yeah, they were
testing
in the
people
house.
their
Yeah.
houses.
Okay, in their homes.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just ambient air. Ambient air means outside air. So they weren't just breathing our outside air. They were in people's homes breathing the same air they were. Because when we do testing, I didn't actually do the test, but I talked to people through the test while other people did it. But you have to go in before the participants have been outside at all. So before they've walked their dog, before they've gone outside to do errands or whatever, you test them literally as soon as they get up in the morning before they've left the home.
So the air is
Right.
100% from their
Right.
home, at
Yeah.
least as much as can be.
Yeah, that's what we were going for.
I have lots of questions.
We do too.
Because
We're
then-
learning.
Then the researchers from Purdue, they tested. They didn't test first thing next morning. They tested that day as
yeah.
the day went on and had it in their lungs.
And I don't know, didn't they test later and then it not be in their lungs
Right.
anymore? It does
It's-
dissipate. Like
I don't know if they tested when they went.
I don't think that they did, but I mean, I would think that it would depend on the person how fast you're getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Sure,
You know,
makes
But-
sense.
I want to get rid of it really
I never
fast.
bought into the radon and the ambient air. It just baffles me, and I know it's way above my pay grade when you go in parts per million and stuff like that.
Mhm. That's
Shoot
per
it off in the
billion.
air, 6 feet, 8 feet, whatever, and it dissipates. But
Right.
I'm like, where's that level at? 'Cause I'm 5'8". I should be good.
right?
So
Well, when we were doing the children's study, we wanted to get that testing done as soon as they got up before they went out to play.
right, no, that
anything like
makes sense.
Just so that, because so there was for an example, we had one child signed up, and we went to go test, and she'd actually just come back from gymnastics.
Mhm.
The parent didn't understand that we needed, the child to stay home, whatever, before we got there, and so we weren't able to test her that morning because you want to make sure that whatever information you're collecting didn't actually come from the gymnastics.
I was going to say it could have been the
place.
gymnastics
right?
room.
Right.
So that's why we
But
wanted.
that could have led
That's
you
why
to that building.
Well, but that's why we wanted to get it in the morning for all of them, so that we knew that it was after they had been in their own homes for 12 plus hours. So it's not that you can't get it other places, but it's consistent.
Predominantly, though, you found it in the plume.
But everywhere, just higher.
Just higher in the
Higher
plumes.
ele-
You're
Why
right.
Yeah.
that? Though? Why that? How?
I don't know. And if you don't actually, if Jeremy's still listening, I don't know, but if you don't live in the plume, and if you're not chosen to do these tests by any stretch of the imagination, there are companies. I don't know who they are, but I know that there are companies that you can privately pay. And I remember
is.
I looked into it, and I think it was about $200. I don't know how much they charge now, but that was a couple years ago when I actually looked into it. But there are private companies who do come and test for PC.
Yeah, it's probably the same companies that test for radon and stuff like that for real estate deals.
Yeah, probably.
Except the radon guy that just did mine from didn't know he didn't test for PCE. Like he couldn't test for PCE because I asked that same question because
Right.
definitely you want to get yourself you want to get it tested.
If I could add something,
Yeah,
Sure.
of course.
you know, Kevin, you say you have questions,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the power of this project. You know, the researchers and the scientists, they're coming down to do their research in science and
Right.
and do their thing, and give us reliable data that decisions can be made, maybe policy can be made from, but that right side of that flow chart, a healthier community, we all have thoughts of what's going on.
Sure.
Maybe we'll know,
Right.
you know, and we'll have some facts.
We don't know unless we ask. That's the
right.
biggest thing.
And we can pass that through reliable knowledge and be a healthier community
Right.
through these efforts. So I think that's, and the Purdue PCE project, you know, involve the community, but this MeCAP project is really taking that to another level of community involvement, and I think it's the power of this. And can
You
be
guys
a
are doing
blueprint.
amazing work,
Yeah.
and that a lot of folks have no clue, no understanding, or wouldn't even want to be involved. They don't even want to open their door to you to
Right.
test the air. But what you're trying to do is to prevent death, basically, that could happen. And I'm putting it out there because that's what happens. This stuff can kill you. If it couldn't kill you, we sure as hell wouldn't be having meetings about it. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. I've worked in aerospace for 34 years. I know a little bit about that stuff. So believe me.
Oh, one thing we didn't mention, a lot of times some people or some homeowners, landlords, are sometimes afraid to have the testing done because they think
They don't want to pay for it.
Well, maybe some of that. But what I was going to say was, if there is a problem, they're afraid that it's going to bring their property values down. Whereas actually, this is just the opposite. So if there is
Right,
a
if you
need,
don't do anything, it's going to bring your value down.
right,
If you fix it, it will bring your property up.
right.
It could.
But if they're within the Superfund site, then the EPA will pay to put in the ventilation or not ventilation VIMS
Mitigation.
mitigation. Thank you, which will actually increase your property value because your house has been cleaned. Or if you are or if you are in the Harmon Becker or the Twig Plume, Kevin,
He hates
then
it.
it's IDEM who's taking care of those, correct?
IDEM's doing
Yeah.
the Twig and Harmon Becker.
Right.
And the EPA's doing the Superfund.
Right, so it's national.
And Wilcox is
They're
doing
national
Yeah.
or state.
So Wilcox is cleaning the O'Neill plume.
O'Neill.
The EPA is supposed to begin cleaning the Superfund site next year.
Hold
End
your
of this
breath
year,
on that
next
one.
year?
No pun intended.
Even
Don't
though,
hold me to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
I was
not
going to
sure.
say.
but the other two that
It's government.
IDEM is keeping track of, they have no plans of cleaning it up. They think right now we're just going to put in the mitigation systems. Cheaper for them just to put mitigation
So the
systems
state
in.
has denied cleaning.
I'm not going to use any specific words like that. I don't know.
We
I'm
said
not. I
IDEM.
can't. Yes,
State.
but yes, right. So they're not even looking at the process of cleaning it right now.
So
but,
why are they involved?
But
then?
you can have your home tested, and they'll put in a system if one is needed.
You have a problem, we're here to help. That's what I'm hearing. But they don't want it.
But that's why we need this data. We need this data. You know, if we can find the correlation between the chemicals and possible problems, then that will help push these agencies to get things
And we
cleaned
can
up.
give you better answers the more people we get involved too.
Yeah.
that's why there are so many. When we did kids, we weren't looking for nearly as many subjects, but now in this study, I mean, between 300 and 500 participants, that's a lot of participants, and we're just going to really hope that we can educate our community and that people can get the word out. I'm still amazed by the amount of people that I start talking to because I talk a lot to begin with,
Amen.
but I talk a lot, and when I start talking to people about this, and that I've been working with Purdue for a while, Some people have never heard of it. Some people, I just talked to somebody in the Superfund site who literally still hadn't heard of it. And I'm just amazed at how they can't hear of this. But I was also born and raised in Martinsville, and until 2019, I never knew there was any sort of problem.
No, I
Well,
didn't either.
What I thought was really interesting was last week when we were talking to the physicians group at
Yes.
IU Morgan.
Yes.
What was it? 12 people in the room?
Yeah.
One person had heard of it.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And see, we've had no less than 6 shows about it on here.
Mhm.
The paper, what's left of it's covered it. The radio station covered it. Political during debates, kind of back and forth. That's been brought up in question towards politicians running for office. It's just amazing that people haven't grasped this yet.
Yeah.
mhm.
So send us contacts for your
So what you do
businesses,
is you
churches.
get some yellow paint, spray paint, and you start west of the city and you trace the plume all the way back.
Oh, God.
Don't think I
Talk
wouldn't.
about panic.
I bet you'd get somebody's attention at that
Yeah.
point in time, wouldn't you?
We've given this presentation
Little
to
yellow flags with skull and crossbones on them.
to the Rotary Club, to the
Mhm.
Noon Lions,
To pastors.
to
our
yeah,
Chamber
area.
of Commerce.
Yes.
Chamber of Commerce, to the WIC
Sororities.
office.
See, if I work
Sororities.
downtown, because it's Jackson, and my mind went dead. What's
Jackson.
the
Jefferson.
no?
No?
What's
What
the
do you
north
say?
south road right there with Jackson and Columbus by Central School?
I don't.
Oh, God.
What?
Sycamore?
No.
No,
What
next one
starts with
over.
W?
Warren.
Warren.
You've got. It starts there at the backside of the police station, where the old cleaner used to be, and it shoots northwest.
I thought it started at the building across from the post office
Nope.
on Washington.
Does not. It started right there at the corner of Jackson, Warren, and it runs northwest. Splits and runs towards the Ball Diamonds Lake, where the wells are at. That consumes the entire square. When someone said, I think it was 200 buildings, I guarantee it's 600 buildings total in that area, at least. Those people in that area, all of them should be beaten down the door wanting to get. Should have been beaten up.
I don't know if I'm right. Wasn't there a change
You
to
have a
where
picture
a
of that?
tenant can actually okay the testing now? But if there is any type of
That happened because you guys
system
said that
that
on
needs
air.
to
in
be
here.
installed, then obviously the property owner then has to.
I don't know if
Avoid that.
you mean a change on the EPA's side of things.
Yeah.
My understanding was that the EPA could not test without the landlord's permission. But for our purposes, we can test with the tenant because we're not, it's. I'm not a lawyer, but it does work out that we're we're allowed
I'm not a
to.
lawyer, but I know one.
Exactly.
He plays one on TV.
Slip out a Holiday Inn Express.
Right. I did say it
So-
Holiday Inn Express last time.
But yeah, no. So we can test your breath with just the tenant's permission. That's not a problem. And that was something with our first project too, where we were testing the ambient air, but we could do that with tenants' permission only.
I still think we need a town hall with an open mic. All you guys, and including.
Let's get one booked.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's
for
a
sure.
good.
That's
That's
what
the
we-
kind of stuff we need.
That's what we
Yeah.
can do.
Why
But I
not?
mean, you have to have It can't be me, you guys, and 4 or 5 other people drinking iced tea, because it's
Well, that's
not
about all
worth
you
it.
can have at our ANC.
So how can we get a
I
lot
know.
of people there? That's our question. We always want people to
Gotta
participate.
give something free away.
I know.
Whether
We
it be
said feed them, they'll
Chick-fil-A
come.
or
Well, nothing was given away at the first town hall meeting.
yeah, that many. 50.
That whole room was full.
In the
remember? We had
REMC
all
building.
all those rows. We were sitting up.
That's true because I was
There
in
was
the
a
back,
lot of people.
But that
there.
was
and it was a horrible
was
rainy night.
Dr. Lou.
that was dictated too by other political people. You don't want to make
Well.
it political. You don't want to square it in, especially right now with elections coming up.
Use the pavilion, Teresa.
Good idea.
The venue.
The venue.
Good.
Then if you get a rain out there, you
Sure, that'd be. We said use the high school auditorium. That's a good place. If we could get people
Somewhere.
to come, we can find somewhere to have it. We
Yeah.
need people to come. That's what we need to find. So if anybody has any good ideas, that would be wonderful. Help us figure out how to get more people to come.
Come to the next CAB meeting.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
When is
We
the
don't-
next CAB?
Well,
meeting?
we're working on setting the date. It'll be in April.
Is that the one I missed?
No, you missed January. So
Oh
now it's time for
gosh, now
April.
he's gonna miss April. Great.
I do have audits in April.
Yeah, but like we've said over and over again, the more people that know about this project that we're doing, the more people that will show up to these events, and the more people that will say yes when we ask them to participate. Yeah, it's okay, tree staff.
Do you guys have something scheduled for Artesian Little League set up to discuss information give out there?
Not officially,
Because
but
that's
we are
a
planning
major area.
Right.
What's up, Stephen? Thank you, sir, all the way from Texas.
Ooh, Texas. No, actually, I don't think that we've talked about it. What we've talked about is instead of trying to provide our own events, because sometimes we don't have enough participation to kind of make it worth our time. But if we piggyback off of other events, like you said, like the Little League, or if we go to the farmers market, we have a booth at the farmers market to give information, or hopefully maybe your Cancer Survivors Day that you guys,
Mhm.
sponsor, then we can get more information out there. So we don't typically have our own events. That's a good way to say that, maybe.
But you need to hold a town hall. You need to hold a town hall with all you guys there and all your information, and just turn the mics over to people, let them ask
That's
questions. And if I have to ask all the questions and just get the crowd going, I will, because
Yeah.
I'll just keep firing away because I got hundreds
Sounds good.
more.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
That's, like the town hall meeting that they had when the train derailed in the Indiana.
And we're dealing with some of the same chemicals there,
Uh-huh.
especially on the Harmon Becker plume. We're not going to ignite it and burn it off.
Now it didn't
Just still
start
don't
as that
No,
form.
that's
It's all
But-
the same class
Yeah.
of chemical too. It's just the vinyl chloride is the most well understood. It's the most dangerous
Right.
of that class of chemical, of these chlorinated volatile organic compounds.
And it evolves over time. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the correct word, but
It degrades. So it's based on the number of chlorine atoms attached to this thing called ethylene. As it loses chlorine, it becomes more dangerous.
so it is natural.
It's it define. What's your definition of natural?
Did we gain to function it?
I don't know. I mean, that's a great. I don't know if it occurs in nature, but I know, you can pour chlorine into something and it will eventually turn into PCE. But it's like
We may not have gained to function it, but we've created these two, which would create.
right.
Well,
It is a
okay.
natural degradation process.
Sure.
If that's
What's the half-life? Do we know?
don't know.
radon's naturally occurring. We just
Town hall.
okay. Well,
Let's do it.
Let's start it.
Cinco de Mayo, right around then.
free margaritas. I didn't say that.
Hey,
I'm kidding. Don't come expecting.
you have to do something to get the people there,
That's true.
and
I don't think it's more.
I'd go. No, not margaritas, but something. Because a lot of them get bored with it. And I go back to one of the second or third shows we had in this building from after being downtown. I had 20 people for an hour, and this was one of the more informative first shows. Really digging into it. It was with what's the gal's name? Tag on it, Tasha, and
Oh yeah,
she's
from the
from
Hoosier
Hoosier
Action.
Hoosier Action. But this was dealing
Yeah.
with this.
It was. They were working.
And I had 20 people for an hour, and then the next night I had the bat show, and I had 100 people for
When he was
3
attacked by a bat.
on air. I had 100 people for almost 3 hours. So I'm like, that's
Yeah.
where we're at mentality wise. We lose focus on stuff like this because it's not going to happen to me.
Right.
No, but it could happen to your kids or your kids' kids.
Or you don't understand it. And if you don't understand it, that's kind of what I'm good at. That's my job because I teach little kids, and the researchers talk above my head all the time. They're very, very bright. They have to be so that they can do the research. But then, we can explain it in a way that you can better understand it. So if you don't understand it, it's okay because I ask a lot of questions. I'm sure they look super goofy half the time, but my problem is that I don't care because I want to understand it. I'm personally affected by this as well. My husband passed away of cancer. Mom passed away of cancer. I don't like it. So if they're environmentally charged cancers, I don't want people to have to go through what I've been through. I lost a dad when they were 8, 6, 2 years old. Rough.
It doesn't help that it's invisible and you can't
Right.
tell that it's happening. You know, it's like high blood pressure, kind of like silent. You don't know.
Yeah.
It's in your air, doesn't smell, doesn't taste like anything. But it's there.
Well, I appreciate the work you guys are doing. All the groups involved with this. And hopefully 5-year window is what you guys are saying around there. By then we'll be on the downward slide and getting it taken care of.
Get the research.
You got to keep
together.
pushing though, because gain one person a day. It's better than 0 people a day.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So, anyway,
Why we're
anything else,
here.
Beth?
I don't think so.
Hour and 17 minutes. Good job.
Good job on the presentation.
Nice job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
You
Appreciate
did well.
I know it's not
Sorry, your
real
clicker
easy
guy
not
messed
being
up.
right. Yeah.
Oh, you're good.
They're all numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 19, and then we got to about 12, and then when he went back to you, and then went to try to
Yeah,
go
Beth's
back
like,
to
go
the
back
picture.
go back to there and go
he
back
couldn't
down. I was
remember
like,
what number he was on. He's
What was that? So-
This one, nope.
what I was trying to do was, all I had to do was add camera 4 to him. I was like, I want to click on that and then click on him. So when I clicked on it, it took it off him and to what I clicked on. Like,
Oh.
I better stop. I have to do it, not while we're live. I never thought of that. I should have done it to start. That'd have been easy. Anyway,
Hey,
in closing, real quick, we have our Porch Time golf outing on April 29th. We need sponsors, and teams. But this is to help promote the youth of Morgan County. We give away 2 $1,000 scholarships to an eligible senior going into the field of,
communications.
wonder why. So get a hold of me. Last year, this is our 3rd year for doing it. It's out at Foxcliff. Doug's done a wonderful job out there. So cannot wait to get out there and get back at it.
So Monday should be Monday Music Hour, right?
Do we have Monday Music Hour? I know we got an event in here on the. We've got something coming up. Rob's going to come in here and talk about a little bit later. I've not discussed with you guys.
What? You leaving me in the dark? You know what this Saturday is, right?
Work all day for Kevin Saturday.
No.
Tickets.
Tickets go on sale.
To
Ashley Bride,
Ashley-
Tanya Tucker.
Ashley McBride.
What'd I say?
Ashley Bride.
McBride, yeah.
Hey, you're as bad as me, Travis Tritt. I got all that. I've got my cards were completely destroyed. Got the Toy Dart concert coming up at Hoosier Harvest November 4th. Sandy Patty, Downpour, and RD Productions. The fair concert, Chris Tomlin, Megan Duke, Downpour, and Natalie Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley McBride, Tanya Tucker. I say Tanya. Is it Tanya?
Say
Tanya.
what you want.
Oh no, not on this show.
Tanya
Trust me.
Tucker.
You say the wrong thing on air here, you never hear the end of it. Tanya Tucker, Neil McCoy, Easton Corbin.
Yes.
Saturday, June 17th. That is not far away.
It's not. And so the tickets to that concert go on sale Saturday. If you come to Greg Hubler in Canby, just north of
Are
Mooresville.
we doing that again?
Yes, between 10 and 2. As many tickets as you want to buy to that concert, you can get for 25% off. Between 10 and 2, but you have to go to Greg Hubler to buy them. So then at 2 o'clock, they go on sale online for regular price. And also at 2 o'clock, Drink at the Creek tickets go on sale.
Ooh.
And who's first at Drink at the Creek?
Come on. That's an easy one.
I don't know. Who is it?
It's normally Resurrection
It
and
is.
Fancy Sauce.
Is it? They are good.
Well, I don't know
May
if it's
20th, 7 p.m.
fancy.
Journey Resurrection Tribute Band. Resurrection Journey Tribute Band. And then Fancy Sauce starts at 5 p.m.
Right.
May 27th, Thunderstruck. They're awesome. Jump.
Yeah.
And Helen Tribute Band. June 10th. Shit. Can I, twin?
Yeah.
Man, I
Mhm.
better use these because I not did twin. The Ultimate Carrie Underwood Band. Barracuda on June 24th with Crush. It's a Bon Jovi Tribute Band. July 8th, World Turning. That is a Fleetwood Mac. And the Wildflowers. Tom Petty. July 27th, Shining Star. That is an Earth, Wind, and Fire. I don't think I've ever heard of an Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute band. And Toy Factory. August 5th, Cabana-Arama Island Night and the Naughty
That's gonna be
Yachties.
fun.
Not Yacht Rock. That'll be fun. August 26th, Made in America. That'll be Keith tribute band. And he's not doing well either.
I know.
The Wombly's Rock Orchestra. That'll be a fun. I will not miss that one. September 2nd, CRB Fest, Country Rock and Blues Fest, Henry Lee Summer,
Okay.
Melon Cougar, Eliminator, ZZ Top tribute band, and Jenny DeVoe.
That's only a 1-day show this year.
Yeah.
So
And Henry Lee wrote on her table when it's fading.
Where'd it go?
It's
Somebody
there. It's
somebody
there.
cleaned the table. Who cleaned the
It
table?
wasn't me. You know that. September 16th, Rob Caldwell.
what?
It's a Rod Stewart tribute band. Cherry Bomb, Joan Jett tribute band. October 7th, Hairbangers Ball, the big 80s. And then October 14th, you'll be here at this one, the Prince Experience, Soul Street. Ticket prices, $15 advance, $20 day of the show. Children 12 and under free. Season passes, $100. You save $80. Tickets on sale Saturday, April 1st. Weekend.
That's right.
Done.
That's right, Kenny.
Kenny, I want to see you go on stage and sing. Matt, was it what was one of his hits? My gosh, I've lost my mind.
Roxy.
No, I wasn't.
No, that's
Rod
not him,
Stewart.
is it? Who is that?
That was the police.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
just
it
saying,
was.
he's a musical guy.
That was on Synchronicity.
Room. What?
That was on Synchronicity. The police.
Maggie May.
Maggie May. I was going to
There we
say.
go.
It came out Maggie Legs in my head. I was like, don't say that on air. Maggie May.
That's right. I got the wrong name.
Okay, anyway. Thank you guys so much. I'm sure we'll have you back in. I saw had Beth posted online about your guys' thing you had coming up.
Mike's laughing at you.
I know, Mike. I messed that up. So I'm glad to get you guys in here and get the information out. And like we said, there you go, Kenny. I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Any more shows this week that you know of that I've not told you about? Thursday night, I have the boys back in here. We'll be talking Final Four, bracketology, which is a complete mess. Start of baseball. Kenny, the Reds and the Cubs are tied for first right now. After this weekend, they'll both be eliminated. All right. Love you guys. We will see you soon. Thank you so much.